AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and, did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello there, Stanley Carr here. You know, I love collecting music and sports memorabilia. Want to know where you can find some? I'll tell you. Go to oldglory.com. This website features one-of-a-kind apparel from your favorite sports teams and musical artists. And I can help you get 15% off of all items. Use the code WWH135. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show, and with me right now, I have got a very special guest. She is a former WWE Divas Champion, currently wrestling as part of TNA and on the independent scene, the one and only Victoria Crawford, a.k.a. Alicia Fox. Welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So I've asked a lot of guests that I've had on the show so far if they were wrestling fans growing up or they just kind of fell into it. Let's talk about you. What's your story? Were you a big fan of wrestling?
Well, I did just fall into it. I was one of those, ones that just fell into it. I don't have a parent wrestling or, many friends, but definitely had some babysitters that watched it, but I was kind of a girly girl. So I'm not sure if I had many chapters of watching wrestling, to be honest, before getting into it.
Were you big into sports or athletics growing up?
I was big into sports. I cheered, so I did all the girly things. So I had to take into more basketball before football, but football. I didn't play those sports, but definitely like athleticism,
So I'm sure the cheerleading kind of helped sort of prepare you for stepping into professional wrestling because, it's people can say what they want, but it's hard work. It is.
That's true. Yeah, it definitely did prepare me. In cheerleading, you do the stunts and things, so the 5, 6, 7, 8, it's not really how I do my matches, but, it definitely like the community building, the team bonding, those kind of qualities really helped me in the locker room. That was a good asset going into wrestling for sure.
So outside of like athletics, what were some of your hobbies growing up? Like any favorite things to do?
Yeah, I love drawing. Not that I'm a good artist or anything. I like, sewing. I had a sewing kick for a while and I probably made bags for 2 weeks straight. Now I'm on a baking kick. So I've been baking since December.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some cookies. And, yeah, just, to be honest with you, I used to love playing Office. hiring and firing my sister. I know it's not the most cool. I would drag all my mom's office supplies outside and set up a desk.
So it's important to be creative, and those are the kinds of things that, you want to have in professional wrestling, is that ability to create storylines and be able to come up with different characters and concepts. So you found this cool avenue to kind of pursue those things with, and professional wrestling is definitely a platform, I feel like, where you could do a lot of different things. And so what was your story? WWE recruited you, I'm guessing, in like 2006, I believe, 2007.
Correct. 2006. Yes, sir.
So you were a part of developmental OVW. Talk about the process of getting signed and starting with the promotion.
Okay, great. So 2006, WWE was open to inviting women that don't have wrestling experience and try and teach their culture. And myself and Kelly left from Jacksonville, and then we went to Louisville, Kentucky, which, there was another option of going to McDonough, Georgia, but we both kind of really were like, let's go far away from home, And so the process of going in developmental, you can either learn wrestling or not, which for me, I thought that learning the skill was great for socializing and fitting in, with all the boys and the girls. There's many talent announcing other things. And so it was kind of an open playing field, but I really gravitated to, the athleticism in the ring. And then certain girls came to follow, like Maurice, Rosa. And so there were a lot of girls that didn't have wrestling backgrounds that we were like at the perfect time to start from scratch together,
Yeah, and so you really had to take to it, and you had to learn pretty quick. And so you have to really be like a fast learner in a sense.
Yeah, very flexible, but I always give credit to my coaches, because I think that's how I've been able to have longevity today. The first of which, Al Snow, was like, you make sure you take your own bumps. And I mean, I don't know if I have to explain what a bump is here, but, your own fall, make sure you know where your sense of gravity is. And I think and then having good opponents that are trained, I am forever grateful for developmental, that was the most cherished time in my whole career so far, was that time. But at the time I didn't really know it yet, but it was a blast.
What were some things that Al Snow and some of the other trainers taught you that you kind of picked up and have applied to today all these years later?
Yeah, so Al Snow would do like skull sessions where we would review our matches. And, for me, I ended up getting nervous watching myself on screen, especially in activity, because I'm like, oh no, I'm too slow. Oh no, my left foot, I'm too. But in doing those kind of skull sessions with Al, he helped us get a constructive criticism, so we could, critique ourselves and move forward. Another thing is, I would have to give a lot of credit to Robert Gibson for teaching me how to drop kick, one-legged drop kick, and Uncle Norman Smiley. Dr. Tom for his psychology. I'd have to thank Fit for all the female finishes. John Laurinaitis, he was a good agent. Actually, he was my boss a very long time, so I give him a lot of credit in aging my matches. I mean, there's so many interesting coaches. I mean, I want to talk about the ones today, at TNA, even though I've kind of maybe know how to wrestle a little bit, with this new company, there's a whole new culture to learn. So a lot of the girls and a lot of the previous TNA talent help us out. Hunter, Dreamer, it's just amazing. It's just amazing how large wrestling is evolving, Yeah. What do you
think? Yeah, it definitely is. Well, when you're surrounding yourself by all these different people, you're surrounded by all these different people that are passionate about the business, that makes you want to do better, makes you really want to train harder, work harder, and get those fundamentals down. And you put that together and you start really grasping it. And so your first match in OVW or later FCW as well, because I know they had moved it to Florida. Talk to me about those early matches, because I'd imagine it can be a little nerve-wracking. What were some things that you were able to learn from and kind of, developed a sense of confidence from?
Okay, yeah. So, honestly, it's like trial and error. There are times that in the beginning I, cried or got nervous or just really didn't know it. And again, I have to give a lot of credit to the opponents. Like my first real match was with Beth Phoenix, or actually my first real match was with Maurice. And we were at a live event where there was a little more creative liberty. And so we just kind of gave it what we got. There's a lot of, things to work on and stuff. And then I can remember my first OVW TV match. That was with Beth Phoenix. And she just talked me through the whole thing, And by that point, maybe I had about 6 months of training with, also Rip Rogers. That was really great because I went to the beginner's class and then I would go to Al's class, which was for the roster. And I think, you're completely right, being in that environment where people are really achieving the same goal. And especially at that age of mine, I was a sponge, so I was also learning new social skills, business skills, and then there's the ring. So I love the business side of it as well. So I can't wait to share about that too. I think that's really intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, when you're starting out so young, I mean, it kind of forces you to grow up, a lot because you're on the road away from your family, you're around a whole new crew, and you start having to learn all the places and sites and everything in different areas. And so you really have to take on just a lot of different responsibility when it comes to that, And so eventually you get called up to the main roster, working on SmackDown, doing some stuff with Edge and Vicky Guerrero. Talk to me about that experience and starting up in ECW as well.
Yeah, Stanley, thank you. Yeah, so it was great. My first experience on the road was with Vicky Guerrero and Edge, and you couldn't have a better set of mentors than them. They were able to really move the crowd, and they were able to develop on these storylines. And then they also got in, between matches, promos, there was so much to learn, around the whole landscape of what actually it takes to be a WWE superstar. I definitely learned what the foundation looked like from them. That role I played was a wedding planner, and it was fun, things. I did some field research and pretended I was getting married and had a wedding planner help me figure out what it is. And yeah, beautiful experience. And then second with DJ Gabriel, Steve Lewington, in some parts, and it was great to go to ECW with him because he was also at OVW with me. So by the time we went to ECW, I'm trying to think, were we at FCW by then? Because I can remember being in front of Dusty. So yeah. And that story was kind of short-lived from what I remember, The dancing was hilarious. I wouldn't call myself a dancer, even though I said I did cheer, but it's a little stiffer, right?
So they bounce you around all these different shows, and eventually you make your way to Raw, being in the Divas division, getting to work a whole slew of opponents. What was it like learning from people like Gail Kim and Mickie James and Melina and all those ladies?
Oh, all the best. My favorite opponent's definitely Melina. Second, Natty, because we've had so many matches. Gail Kim, Saraya. I mean, all the girls, it gives me goosebumps thinking about, the moments we had and the moments that we could still even have, with the independence and then returning back to activity. It's been, it's funny because I feel like I'm back in that developmental flow again, and I'm feeling very lighthearted about it. I feel very open-minded. I feel very exactly how I did years ago. And what those girls have taught me is that you never know who you can be across the ring from or who you'll be working with more intimately, whether it's in the professional or how this world can evolve and you in it, and, so, but when it comes to telling in-ring stories, they knew what worked, that's kind of like the good hack, I think sometimes is, if like Jada Stone and I had a match, knowing her athleticism, I kind of am not as much of a high flyer. I would say 0%, right? So knowing finishes and reactions that like Fit gave me, Laurinaitis gave me, like they kind of get in I can just hear them still in my eardrums, and so we just try to like work there. And maybe I'm an audio learner. That's why it took so long to learn the physical part, right? But that is the orchestra, and we definitely create art. And the fans, the one character I had where you're throwing things, blah, 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 like, I can hear whether or not they were or so then the chance to switch it, but I think it's all audio based. Sometimes the fans get so high, and that's what our, Larry, all the other, the veteran Fitz and Dean Malenko's knew was, all right, they're high, take it home, not to give you guys some behind the scene lingo, but, I do believe a lot of our fans have either attempted a career in wrestling, and those that maybe didn't, continue their journey come and enjoy and support us at the shows. So I think that us all have like, I don't know what the word would be, but I mean, we have such a close interest that we're technically like family, right?
Yeah, it's like an intimate relationship in a sense, because you have all these people that like are a community that come together that are very passionate about this industry and what goes into it, and so they love going to these events, whether it is a WrestleMania or an independent show or even a convention or a signing. They are loyal.
Yeah, it's generation deep, and I love right now, like being on your podcast, because I haven't really been open to podcasts in a while, because for a moment after WWE, I kind of tried to see what the real world looked like, and interesting, but got called back to wrestling, and that's where I'm even so grateful, because it made me realize that like this is in my blood as well, because I think at first wrestling really shapes the individual so deeply that you eventually you have to give it back. You have to. It's like, you become the teacher somewhere. You just want to share, and that's what I was really thinking is thanks to podcasts like you to really open the conversation to the layers and layers and layers of things that we all can do to help it and share with each other, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. And I think like the pinnacle of being in the wrestling business is to be a champion. And you had that moment, is one of the most important highlights, I feel like, of your career was becoming Divas Champion. And to get that adulation from the fans and the adulation from your peers, that had to have meant so much.
It really did. I mean, wrestling's entertainment, yeah, but the championship really represents a timeline where you can bring eyes to the business as a business decision. It's great. It's like you feel the most supported from the office, like you were saying, from your peers, the people, and yourself. There's almost like a huge moment to grow in self-reflection. There are moments at first, because again, I was still kind of young then too, that I was like, whoa, I didn't think that they would even, I'm like, wait, whoa, but in that moment, you're like realizing for yourself, like, well, what am I made out of? And that's what I love about the undiscovered. Is that even a word? Like, what next? Like now at TNA, it's like, well, what next? I haven't held any titles there. I'm so proud of my tag team there. So it just, I don't know what, I'm almost like a loss of words when it comes to that, but yeah, and then all the girls that, like Jada Stone, she's about 27. So when she tells me stories of watching my matches as a little girl, I get such a new experience, Stanley. Like I almost don't even, it's almost hard to put a button on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Because I'm watching her matches like, wow, I wish I had that athleticism. You know, I hope she can induct me in the Hall of Fame one day, if possible. You know, but she's my girl, you know?
Well, I think I think that's a testament to, representation and how I feel like the importance of it and why it matters. And so getting the chance to have someone like a Jada Stone really go, I used to watch you growing up and to follow in your footsteps now. I mean, that says a lot. It really does.
It's huge. I love those little sisters. I mean, there's so many of them, like the Brittany Brooks that's coming up, and girls that are coming into the tryouts. So what I love is that there's so many females coming in to try, and they're not divas. They're just all types of women. Like there's one that I really love. Her name's Big Mama. Have you seen her? She's on the Independents.
I've heard the name.
There's a lot of great girls that I've been able to work. There's some in Canada, I met Jody Threat in Australia on Mickey James tour, and now that we have, so that's what I'm like, wow, who's going to come in the door? It's like, woo! Every time you go to work, it's like, woo, surprises,
I think wrestling at its finest is having that anything can happen, that unpredictability type of atmosphere, because the energy level just gets thrown the roof. Like back in the 90s and early 2000s especially, you could feel like if you could watch old shows, you could tell like, wow, this is something I want to watch every week, every Monday, every Friday, every Wednesday, every any day of the week. Whenever wrestling came on, it's like that I want to see what Steve Austin's doing. What's DX up to this week? What are their antics? I can't wait to hear what The Rock has to say. The charismatic, larger than life personas make you want to watch.
Yeah, and it's amazing because of the schedule too, like that's one thing WWE, I think my busiest year was like 288 days on, but the tricky thing is it's year round. So it's not like January to January, right? So you're like, it's just year round, and heaven forbid you don't get injured. But I got so accustomed to that routine, living in a luggage, miniature travel gimmicks. And then when I got home, I had to get used to the home life, like laundry and dishes and responsible that part. And that was kind of tricky for me because on the road, I guess however you prioritize, but you're kind of away. It's like you kind of have like a little vacation. I don't know. So dishes, laundry, all those other things just weren't going to be in my wheelhouse,
It's a lifestyle. It's a grind. You really have to make the time to do those things that you wouldn't be able to do while you're constantly in hotels and in the airports, going from city to city, town to town, to be able to go to work, go compete, go be on television. And I think too, I also want to point out, you were a part of the cast of Total Divas, which I feel like was one of the staples of what we now know today as part of like the modern women's revolution, the women's wrestling rebirth in a sense, because it really, being on that show really helped garner a lot of female viewers, female audience members. What was it like being a part of the cast of Total Divas?
It was, you're right. It was a great time for us at the time, lots of visibility and everything. And it was great to be with my coworkers, like outside of work.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from okay to very high. Know your sleep score with Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
I think that was like the best thing, because we could kind of create, you know, story, like we could be more ourselves, like who we really are, you know, and that was great. And then it allowed us to travel on top of the travel we had. And it allowed us to see a new audience ourselves. You know, in some cases there are like Alicia Fox fans, but then there's Foxy fans, and they're kind of maybe not into going to arena shows yet. And then there's some that aren't into like watching Diva TV yet, you know, so it's like really been fun. But, you know, on that show, I was able to get to know some of my cast members deeper. A lot of us did come into the developmental thing, but, you know, as we got older, we all changed, you know, and we all have different goals, you know, like the twins were aiming toward family. So on the show, we were able to talk about those things. Whereas, can you imagine being in the locker room going, okay, so I'm thinking about a baby. You're like, oh, after the match, you know? But regardless, you know, I'm not trying to be funny here, but that really resonated to some female viewers who maybe are at a point in their career, whether they do athleticism, and could almost be like, yeah, what happens, you know? And like you said, with Jade, representation. So I was real proud to represent the up and coming female generation of that. Yeah, rock on. I'm all pumped now, Stanley. Thanks. I'm like, you're right. That was.
And it's crazy to see like all these people. Like I've heard Maxine Dupree is an example of someone that really grew up, you know, idolizing, you know, the Bellas and yourself and the Total Divas era, so to speak. So it's amazing to see how like a lot of people that were not wrestling fans at the beginning are now fans of wrestling, you know, while in the business.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. And, you know, I love that the women come in all shapes and sizes. You know, I'm a big Nia Jax fan. I love Lash Legend. You know, they're strong athletes. I mean, even when Ronda Rousey was with us, like a different kind of athlete, female. You know, Becky Lynch, she's had a beautiful evolution. Probably one of my favorites. And the list goes on. It really goes on. Even looking at companies coming in, like AEW, the way that they were able to start the company and develop their own superstars, Toni Storm. I love her. She just. But, you know, that's the one thing that I'm wondering what's going to happen for myself. I just got back, but it seems like not that long ago, but it might seem different to everybody else, you know?
I mean, everybody's got different paths and different career decisions they want to make, whether they want to stay in the business, whether they want to be doing something else, or if they want to work behind the scenes in the wrestling business. I mean, you can't rule that out either. So I feel like it's there's no better time to be a wrestling fan, to be in the wrestling business. There's all sorts of opportunities and career paths to take. I want to talk about some of the stuff that you've done outside of wrestling, because I know you're very passionate about giving back. What are some causes that you are very involved with?
Oh, man. Well, I've got a couple of communities. I'm a big Pilates community. I have my certification now. And what I love is working with complex spines, you know, and the healing, because I'm kind of one of those members as well. You know, I broke my coccyx about 10 years ago, and then this week I had a little flare up. But what I know about that craft, Pilates, is where to help people start to realign themselves. It's a beautiful thing, the body. So that's one thing I'm definitely interested in health and fitness, you know. Another thing is I'm really interested in literacy. You know, in my audience base, we had, during the pandemic, we had like a spelling bee, which everyone jokes about my spelling bee, but, you know, for me, I believe it's very important that we become more literate so we can, you know, I mean, there's so many things about literacy. I'm sitting here blanking on the point, but yeah, my spelling bee was really important.
When you talk about that, I think it's important because reading is fundamental. It's a part of our everyday lives, and especially with young kids. I mean, getting lost in a book, it's like an adventure. So you want to have those opportunities to be able to read to kids and read with families, make sure that they know and understand what's going on, because it's knowledge.
Yeah, and the stronger the vocabulary, the better they can communicate, you know. And I was so proud of the audience that I have, because we came up with about 100 and something words, and the way it worked is every week I just go on live, and then we just pick a couple words and kind of discuss. But, you know, I'm not a teacher, so I wasn't trying to take the role of like, hey, listen to me. But as it started to evolve, it now became like a hey, don't make me ask you to spell anything. But I just find it so interesting, because the passion really sparked as I were in my WWE experience, because we are independent contractors. We have our contracts, you know, and learning how to read and comprehend what your business is asking you to do. I had such a passion for it. And so that's what I'm seeking later in this industry, is to help talent articulate what they need, what is helpful for them contractually, so they can be healthy and prosperous, you know. And I think that wrestling wants healthy athletes, but it definitely comes, you know, there's a part that's not as attractive than the performing, you know, and I just love that sticky, icky stuff. I love it.
Were you involved with different like children's charities, or involved with different kinds of activities to help raise awareness for different causes? Any particular events that you were able to participate in?
Well, we definitely, like during WWE.
It could be anything.
Okay. Well, through WWE, I was able to make a lot of great connections with like either the Via Star, we did Beds Nets, and Susan G. Coleman's, and I've been able to keep contact with them. But I literally just got out of my contract, so it's like this whole world is opening up all over again. And so revisiting certain connections and interests. Like there's one woman, she is, I don't want to really name drop her here, but she helps with a lot of, she was working with the 49ers, and she was helping, like, you know, pro athletes get jobs. I find that interesting. You know, one thing about the literacy thing, or helping other independent wrestlers, is, you know, I don't have a college degree yet. But when it comes to writing a resume that looks like a wrestling resume, well, in a sense, we've done media, we've done, you know, public speaking, we've done marketing, we've done all these skills that, like, you know, putting that on a resume is kind of tricky, because it's sports entertainment, you know. So anyway, I kind of made my own project with a friend. Her name was Bambi Weevil. And what we kind of did is made a resource for us independent wrestlers. But, you know, it's really not the most attractive side of it. It was about the business, like how to protect yourself with proper counsel, how to read your contracts, how to, you know, get bookings, you know, send media kits. You know, we really put a good year in it, and we saw about 150 kids. But, you know, it's a project of passion, and so then we all had to go back to work. That's kind of what happened.
Well, you created something that I feel like was resourceful for people that wanted to break into the wrestling business, and so having that is very important. So because you never know what could have happened, what could happen if these people didn't get the necessary tools to really learn how to really be successful.
Thank you, Stanley. Yeah, it's such a I find the in-ring ability is equal to the business knowledge that you need to keep finding curiosity for, because it's not easy as well. But you know, as an independent contractor now, if say I were to start my own podcast, like how would I manage how to monetize? You know, there's all these ways of bringing in your own brand, you know, make your brand economical. I don't know how to explain.
Brand equity.
Yeah. I mean, And then it's just such a great timing with technology that everyone is available and can collaborate and have conversations like this and have good friendships, and give back. So if anything, I want to be involved with more community here in Jacksonville. There are a lot of communities there. I mean, I'm in the recovery community pretty deeply, but I don't really share too deeply about that. And in that community, I've been able to find my voice and be Victoria, because, recovery is a big step in a lifestyle, but it's like we said earlier, it's just a lifestyle, living in a luggage and living at home. It was just a switch of lifestyle. So I'm real deep in that. And that's really been taking a lot of my focus the last quite a few 24 hours. So without overshare there, that's really my main, community that I send all my love to,
Well, when you find your community, find like-minded people that have been going through similar struggles, being able to overcome them and share your story definitely makes you feel good, makes them feel good, and that they know that they can do something to help them repair their lives. And you're making a difference to being able to be a voice, a beacon of light for them, saying, I made it out the other side. You can do the same thing.
Totally. And everyone has a different story with how they walk into their dark side of whatever going on. And, it's kind of funny now because as I think about it, like I am so grateful. I am so grateful for every step it had to take, every hour it took, everything, and when you're in more gratitude than you are in self-reflection on some of these like lower energy things, like it's just good. It's just part of the healing, it's just like, wow, you can get deep, you're like, wow, I'm a pretty solid anchored, or, trying to build a solid anchored life, and yeah, it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool to be able to share that part of life too. And that's even evolving too.
What is it about giving back to the community that gives you the most joy?
Giving back to my community gives me the most joy when I can be invited to join the journey with whomever I'm helping. I think there's like, again, I'm not a teacher. I don't want to be telling people what to do, but I do respect that real relationship, and there's a young woman that I met at a coffee store, and she goes to the high school here, and she's a female wrestler, but they're mat wrestler girls, And so, maybe in a few weeks we're going to meet for coffee and see if we can provide like either a chat or a buddy system among some of our girlfriends and their girlfriends, and things like that just naturally, organically happen. But to be invited to go along her journey has been really cool, and not, impose, I think that's really cool. That probably didn't answer the question though. I don't know.
When you're trying to provide somebody with information that can be helpful for them, I mean, you're doing a good service.
Oh, thanks, Stanley. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of girls came and gave me a lot of good advice. And the women I meet today, especially in Pilates, like some of my clients are 84, my neighbor's 94. And some of the things that they speak about is obviously wise. But the thing that gets me the most is how they all have the same, rat in a cage moment, busy, too much to do, not enough daylight. They still have these relatable instances where they get, centered and move on about their day. It just seems that it's helpful to not think that you're going to be perfect and do everything perfect, bake perfect cookies and this perfect cookies. And for me, I will say, I think earlier in my WWE career, I had an obsession with being perfect. That's one thing I can say, that if I could do anything different, it would probably be to be a little nicer to myself, you know what I'm saying? And not aim for perfection, but, today I'm just no better. More realistic. I learned some reality, right?
What are some things that keep motivating you, make you keep going and keep striving to do more in the wrestling business? What are some like things that keep you inspired?
Yeah, well, definitely these young girls like the Jada Stones, her generation of girls. Then there's the generation of girls like Jordan Grace, who have built a soon-to-be legacy, from hard work and things, and the fact that they've kept that ring open and I can keep feeding my family. I'm so respectful for that. I'm grateful for the girls like Melina, because those girls were great opponents and, it taught me a lot. Maria Kanellis is, all the girls. And, one thing that keeps me motivated is that suspending my own disbelief is like, you know what? This TV day is not going to go the way I think it's going to go. And that is pretty rad, and it took a minute. I think that's kind of what we were talking about, like, like having those matches and stuff. Like, how do you have the matches? Yeah, part of that repetition is building the confidence to allow wrestling to do what it needs to do, and you can just provide the art, it's just been a great ride. I really don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. I could talk all day about it, everything.
So at the time of this recording, 20 years in now into professional wrestling, which is amazing, incredible. Any dream opponents, any future goals?
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay, dream opponents. I definitely want to wrestle with the Big Mamas. I definitely want to see where our tag team, myself, Tessa, and Mila go. I'd love to wrestle more Jody Threat, Jada Stone. There's just so many. Okay, definitely the TNA roster. But what would be interesting and cool is to be able to cross over brands like Fourth Rope too. Keep bringing some strong matches to some of their roster and keep crossing over. I think that's what's so awesome about this point in my career now is at TNA, we're able to have an independent experience. And this is the first one for me. So it's like I'm able to wrestle women such as Vipress, who I'm a big fan of, and she, until hopefully soon, she'll be signed somewhere. But for now, I'm able to wrestle Ruthie J, big fan of hers, and I just think that is just so cool. That's part of this new experience because I hadn't been able to step outside of like our company until now, or the previous company until now. So yeah, that keeps me pretty pumped up because I've already wrestled Jordan Grace. She was one of my favorite wrestlers. There's a lot of them, but to wrestle Jordan, I was like freaking out. And she helped a lot. She helped me through that.
Have you ever thought about doing something behind the scenes, like producing or?
I would love to do that. I would love to do the groundwork and the business side of things. Like I'd love to do any part, whether it's like talent relations or something in the paperwork section, sponsorship, collaborations, contracts, brand deals, some PR, marketing. Also, too, this is kind of really out there, but I'd love to one day be one of the first women to direct the show on these live platforms because, I mean, like we were saying, like being in the business, this is my 20th year now, being in the business at this moment, I know that the executives and everyone have strong people that can direct a live television show, but I wish I could be at the table too, because from being in the ring and knowing how to hopefully put a proper wrestling picture, especially for females, like I think it'd be cool to call the cameras live, and be on Netflix doing it, Prime doing it, and their wrestling can keep evolving. And yeah, I mean, not to be a complete, pro woman thing, but yeah, it'd be great to be one of the first female directors in the wrestling industry and really help our superstars tell the story, and And maybe it would add another layer to their storytelling, because I've been there. I've taken the bumps, especially as the females, and how diverse we are as far as shapes, sizes, colors, There's ways that, between technology evolving and our skills evolving, like I think there would be a good seat. I think there would be a seat open one day.
I could see it happen.
Thanks, Stanley. That'd be fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Well, Victoria, I want to say thank you so much for coming on to Wrestling with Heart. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you on social media? And if there's anything you want to plug, feel free.
Thank you, Stanley. So, yeah, you guys can follow me on VixCrow.com. You can call the Foxy One on Instagram. I just started a TikTok, and that's Vix_Crow. As far as what's going on lately, I guess be prepared for a spelling bee somewhere in these neck of the woods. I just started skating, so a new little hobby. I'm hoping to skate around the 50 states in those arenas. It only makes sense. And definitely, if you guys are into Pilates and spinal movement, I'd love to share some interesting movement techniques with you. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Victoria, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you. I would love to.
All right. Take care.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.